Awesome. Well, I am excited to get started, and I will try to keep an eye on the Zoom chat, I should say. And we'll go back to sharing the screen so you can see that. This looks a little slow. There we go. Okay, I spoke too soon. All right, welcome again, and I'm excited to have everybody here tonight. This is a new presentation. It'll be new material even for those that have been joining us for the last several weeks. I also like to use these workshops as an opportunity for people to meet each other and network. So I really welcome people to put your LinkedIn in the chat. You're welcome to, if you're comfortable, exchange information, keep in touch, get connected afterwards. And there may even be the opportunity to hold each other accountable, which is what tonight is all about. So let's go ahead and dive in. So today we have a lot to cover. We'll be looking at how to clarify your desires, identify actionable goals, discover your tendency, find tools to keep yourself accountable, reassess, and recommit for lasting change. And if you joined late, hopefully everybody has in the chat the document. Great, and I see people are sharing in the chat their LinkedIn, awesome. If you haven't opened up the document, I'm gonna go ahead and share that again. And I find that I'll go quickly and sometimes someone will miss something. Feel free to put a note in the chat. And if I miss the chat note, but somebody else picks it up, feel free to chime in with the answers. Excellent. Love to see people connecting here on the chat. So if you don't already know me or what I've been up to, I'm Tamara Torres. I help busy professionals achieve success without sacrificing balance and create the time and energy for what matters most by improving habits and productivity, and also with a touch of mindfulness. So step one, we're gonna dive into the handout and look about how to clarify your desires. And want you to start by, if you have access to the handout or even a pen and paper, whatever you have on hand, just gonna take 2 minutes to brainstorm a list of what you'd like to achieve personally and professionally in the next 12 months. Obviously 2 months or 2 minutes is not enough for an exhaustive list, but just the first things that come to mind. And of course, when it comes to brainstorming, there's really no wrong answers. So sometimes the first things that you think of are really the gut feelings that you have and what you really want to follow through on. So once you have at least 5 items that you're thinking of, or it could be change jobs, it could be exercise more, it could be improve your diet or your finances, whatever you want to be achieving. Once you have at least 5 items on your list, and not like a paragraph about each one, but just like 2 or 3 words that say what you want to be doing, put 5 in the chat. Just put the number 5. So I'll give people a couple minutes to do that. And I'll share, if you're just joining again, the link for the Google Doc. I should have the Jeopardy music, or I should have brought the music back for this part. So we'll give people another minute or so. If you have at least 3 things, write 3 in the chat so I can see where people are at in their progress. Thank you. Okay, awesome. 3, 4, 3. Okay, that's helpful for me to know. So we'll give people another minute or so. Great. And 3 or 4 things is probably going to be enough for this exercise. Okay, great. So, oh, we have somebody on top of it already sharing the list. All right. Start a new book, bring on 2 new clients, go to the Bahamas, develop a webinar, secure 3 or more speaking engagements. Awesome. I like how these are very specific. So we'll talk more about how to get into these goals. Okay, now that you've decided what you want to be achieving in the next 12 months, choose 1 or 2 or 3 of these where you can determine the impacts that these changes would have on your life, because we know that change is hard. So reminding ourselves of the why behind our desire can help to motivate us. So if someone's thinking that you want to get fit, your end goal is not, I want to exercise more. It's exercise is a means to getting fitter so that you can be healthier. Maybe you want to improve your finances to reduce your worry or stress. You might want to connect with friends just to have a happier and fuller life. So think about the why that is motivating you to make these changes. And when you have the why for 2 items, you can choose to share those, or you can just put the number 2. Totally up to you. I feel like everyone's taking an exam. Okay, my why is I have dreamed about these for too long. Life is short. I still want to make them happen. Why not now? I love why not now. I feel like this is a good question for the times that we're living in. Like, if not now, then when? All right, we got 3 items here. Excellent. Want to make sure that 1 or 2 other people can confirm. Great. All right. Excellent. I'd feel better, happier, and have higher self-esteem. These are great motivators. And a lot of the changes that it takes in order to see these results are really hard. So good to kind of post those up as reminders to yourself. All right. So I feel like there's several TV and movie references today. Get Smart. That's a super old one. Someone says they want to feel more balanced and fulfilled. Awesome. So in terms of creating our goals and putting those into action, the author of The Little Prince said, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So to put your plans into action, we need to be very precise with our goals. So SMART goals, that's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. You might be familiar with SMART goals, and you're going to create a SMART goal tonight, and then we're going to add some twists to it with adding in your behavior tendency. So the example that I used is each week I will schedule 1 meeting with a new connection in order to grow and strengthen or deepen or develop my network. And I actually set this goal at the beginning of 2020. And I think the goal was 20 people in 2020. I had lots of 20 goals for this year. And probably by, I think, June, I had connected with more than 20 new people. But if I hadn't had that specific and tangible goal, I definitely would not have made it a priority. So think about just one of the things that you want to be achieving in the next year, and then use the format on the worksheet to make it very measurable. Thinking about, for starters, when are you going to take action? Is this going to start Monday morning? Is this going to start the 1st of December, hopefully you won't wait until January to get started on these goals, but think about playing to your strengths and what's going to work for you. With it being a holiday week coming up, some people will find that that's not the best week to start diving into their goals. So think about what's going to help to set you up for success. And if anybody has a SMART goal that they would be willing to share, I would love that. You can say yes or me, and then you can take the time to write. I'm sure there's a brave soul out there who doesn't mind sharing in the interest of the group. This is where I do the long silence, where I'm not going to call on anybody, but I'm going to trust that someone's going to pop up. Otherwise, I'll share an endless array of different clients' goals. Actually, I met with my health coach a couple of weeks ago, and I've been a little more sedentary than usual lately, working on these presentations. So I had to set an exercise goal of 20-minute walks 3 days a week, but I like to take them with my family for additional accountability. All right, excellent. Starting today, I will spend at least 4 hours a week for professional development in marketing, online classes or webinars in order to further my career and skill set. Love this. Thank you for sharing. That's great. All right. The rest of you are off the hook, but if you want to share something, I would be happy to see that as well. So shifting gears a little bit, but not too much, because it's definitely relevant to leveraging these goals. All right, another chat. I'll close out my workday by 6:30, 4 nights a week, so I can spend time with my family. Yes, awesome. I have been working with a lot of people on this specific goal this year, setting a specific time to finish work and finding ways to hold yourself accountable. And if part of that accountability means that you're going directly to spending time with your family, then your family is counting on you. So that's a great way to have accountability. Yeah, it's been a challenge this year. That's for sure. All right, so I hope that people had an opportunity to take a look at the 4 tendencies. SMART goals work for just about everyone, but they can be more effective when used in conjunction with your behavior change tendency. And this is part of knowing yourself better. I'm a big fan of Gretchen Rubin, who created this amazing framework for understanding behavior change. Knowing yourself and understanding what works for you helps to contribute to your success. So there's an area in the handout to circle your tendency and take notes. You should have received a link to take the quiz. It's a quick quiz, but I don't know if you necessarily want to take it now. As we go through it, you'll probably get a pretty good sense of what your tendency may be. So we tend to one of these 4 kind of archetypes: the upholder, questioner, obliger, and rebel. And understanding these tendencies improves the way we motivate and influence ourselves and others. So we'll explore each of these tendencies and how we can optimize our mindsets to get ourselves on the right track. So this is a really interesting framework. I haven't seen anything like it. And because I love all things behavior change and better understanding psychology and how we work in order to help myself and others, this idea of breaking up people into groups depending on how they respond to expectations. So we face 2 kinds of general expectations. The outer expectations have a clear consequence. If you don't meet them, you may do poorly at work. You may get a traffic ticket. The inner expectations are the ones that you decide on for yourself. And you're not accountable to anyone else. And if you don't meet these expectations, you're generally just disappointing yourself. So if you've taken the quiz and you know what your tendency is, please share that in the chat. It'd be really interesting to see if the breakdown is similar to that of the general population, or if these events tend to attract a certain tendency over another. So we see an obliger, rebel, interesting. Questioner, nice. Okay, another obliger with questioner tendencies, rebel, obliger. Oh, this is so interesting. Okay. Well, I'm glad that a lot of people got to take the quiz in advance. I think I saw a pretty good mix, and then it looks like a lot of obligers. So almost half of what we have tonight are obligers, which is not surprising because in the general population, obligers are 41%. And obligers put a high value on meeting commitments to others, and they'll do anything for a patient, a client, a family member. They do well with deadlines, oversight, monitoring, and other forms of accountability, but they may have trouble setting limits on others' demands. Someone could be an excellent athlete in college with the support of a coach or a team, but really struggle to stay in shape when left to their own devices. And obligers need to be cautious of neglecting their own needs with excuses that prioritize the needs of others, and also really enforce limits to prevent burnout. So saying no to one thing allows you to say yes to another. If you obligers feel like this is you, say, yeah, that's me, or yes. I think if you're reading these, it's very relatable. Yes, 100%, yes. So, so we're definitely going to take a look at how you can leverage different ways of accountability. And then we have the upholder, and I'm not sure if we have any upholders here in the chat. Okay, so the upholder is a pretty small group, 19%, and a famous upholder is Gretchen Rubin herself, the author of The Four Tendencies. So upholders are self-directed, they meet deadlines, work projects, they take the initiative without much supervision. They want to know what should be done so that they can do it. I thought that I was a questioner because I asked so many questions, but I realized that my motivation was really so that I could understand the expectations and follow through. Upholders like myself enjoy routine, and we can sometimes have trouble adjusting when we get a curveball in our schedule, and we'll meet expectations even when they don't matter to anyone else, or in the case of my family, when it gets on their nerves. It doesn't matter. I will follow through, exercising on vacation and things that might drive other people crazy. I just have an internal drive to do these things. And there are times where I should probably dial it back. Oh, someone just discovered they're a rebel. That's a surprise to me as well. That means, wow, okay, so at least 3 of you are rebels. We got a pretty even split here. Definitely interesting. So the questioner, unlike the upholder, asks questions to decide if the task makes sense to them. So they tend to object to anything inefficient or irrational, or anything that they deem arbitrary. One of my easiest ways to figure out or confirm if someone is a questioner is to ask them, how do you feel about New Year's resolutions? And if they say, it's totally arbitrary, like, why would I wait until January 1st to start a goal? I could start a goal any day of the week or month if I wanted to. Yes, very accurate. So if we think about questioners as putting very high value on reason and information, they might need a lot of additional research before taking action. And so questioners have to be careful to not succumb to analysis paralysis, the inability to make any decision without having all of the facts. And I'm sure many of us have done this at some point when you're researching something online. Maybe you're just going to make a big purchase, and you research and you read all the reviews and you look at all the different options. And sometimes it can get in the way of actually just making a decision. And then last but not least, the rebel. So 17%, I believe this is the smallest tendency. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be rebels. And the reason why is because entrepreneurship and owning your own small business allows you to carve your own path and do work and make an impact in the way that you want to. So being your own boss is a really great fit for a rebel. So that's the good news. Thinking of a famous rebel, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Nir Eyal. He wrote the book Indistractable, which is a resource that I use a lot in these talks. And he's an entrepreneur who focuses on productivity and focus, and he is also a rebel. So rebels can do anything that they want to do, but they want the freedom to do it in their own way. They're likely to resist others' efforts to tell them what to do. They put a high value on freedom, choice, self-expression, and authenticity. And they'll also act out of identity. So out of love, a sense of mission, belief in a cause. They might do something because they say, I'm an athlete, I'm a good parent, I'm a responsive boss. So if you feel as a rebel you have difficulty to get yourself to do certain things, looking at your own identity and how these tasks relate to your identity can be a great way to leverage your tendency. So this may only be fun for me, but I hope some other people are familiar with this and will appreciate this. But this is one of my favorite shows from the 90s. And this is Seinfeld, of course. So it's been said that each character can be seen as personifying a different tendency. So from what we've learned, looking at from left to right, Jerry, George, Elaine, Kramer, of these, who would you say is our rebel? Kramer. Yes, without a doubt. So Kramer's obviously the rebel. He won't do something if there are expectations of him doing something, and just about everything that he does is unexpected. Yeah, so we got a couple of votes for Kramer. Great. And then the other ones might be a little bit more difficult to tease out, but guesses as to who might be the obliger, someone who looks to the external a lot for questions, answers, making changes. George. Yes, it's George. I feel like you've taken this quiz. People really got that right away. I was surprised. Okay, yes. So George really cares about external expectations. And if you've ever seen him at work, he seems to need a lot of accountability. So then we have the questioner. Posture gives it away. That's funny. So who might be a questioner? Elaine, yes. So if anybody remembers when Elaine was trying to decide if her boyfriend was worthy of her contraceptive, that is like a perfect questioner, perfect episode that demonstrates. So that leaves us with Jerry as the upholder. Yes, it was the sponge episode. So Jerry will do what he sets out to do, whether it's writing new material, getting booked on the Late Show. So I think it's kind of fun if you want kind of an easy way to remember some of the differences in the tendencies. Of course, this is a little bit of a parody look at it, but I think it's fun. So how do we meld together smarter goals and tendencies And accountability. Oh, cool. I'm glad you like the exercise. Um, so almost every tendency benefits from some type of accountability. It just may look a little different in the form that it takes, but accountability is a really powerful factor, and it means that someone's watching and there'll be some kind of consequences for our actions. And when we believe we're being held accountable for our actions, even to ourselves, then we'll show more self-command. So think about, based on your tendency, how you can adjust your goals to be more successful. So different types of accountability. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with how Weight Watchers goes. Some people find it difficult to follow through, but when they work with a group like Weight Watchers, where they have weekly meetings and weigh-ins, or where they're tracking their calories and they're meeting with their coach that helps to hold them accountable, that works well. And people have been able to duplicate that with different Facebook groups or affinity groups. Accountability partners work really well, like fitness trainers, coaches, personal organizers. Even our pets can serve as accountability to get more exercise, for example. You can go public with your accountability by sharing your goals or posting online. And then there's commitment devices like fitness trackers and just having a gym membership or a simple piggy bank. Um, Someone should, yeah, must be very specific and tell someone else, husband, best friend, colleague, mastermind group. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good example of utilizing external accountability. So now we go back to another way to summarize the four tendencies. I actually love this one. To think about it simply, for the upholder, discipline is my freedom. So I like to have a very kind of strict and regimented schedule and very clear expectations. The obliger says, you can count on me, and I'm counting on you to count on me. And that's how they're going to follow through. The questioner says, I'll comply if you convince me why. And the rebel says, you can't make me and neither can I. And that might sound a little unfair because lots of rebels know how to follow through, but you have to really know what you want and oftentimes tie it to your identity to be successful. So some key strategies that tend to work for some of the different groups. So obligers, as we can see in particular, benefit from accountability. The upholder does really well with scheduling and routine. The questioner needs clarity, and the rebel needs to utilize their identity. And so that's ways that you can leverage your different behavior tendency. So I'm gonna look at the chat. So yes, always looking for accountability partners. Well, there may actually be some accountability partners here tonight. And if you guys want to, guys and gals, I should say, if you want to add again your LinkedIn or say, I'm looking for a buddy, please feel free again to share your information. It would be really fun to say, here's my LinkedIn. I'm an obliger, would love to meet with another obliger. Two obligers work very well together. So because you both understand the importance of accountability. Rebels are not always looking for accountability partners. So it really depends on the tendency for sure. Curious to hear from the rebels. How does this sound to you? Does it resonate? Does it sound true? Do you see aspects of yourself? You agree, say that's me, or say like, oh, I haven't seen myself in this way. Looking for the possible rebel accountability partner. I think pretty soon we're gonna have like a in search of chat, like the ads we used to see in the papers. Wholly agree, rebel speaks to you. Okay, great. Okay, so so one rebel who's looking for accountability. That's interesting. All right, so I'm gonna go through a few more slides, and then I want to be able to get off the slides and then hopefully have a little more interaction with people. If you want to, you put questions in the chat, or you can take yourself off mute. I think I want accountability in theory, but don't actually like it. That's really funny. Yeah. I think there's such an expectation that we all benefit from accountability that when your tendency really doesn't benefit, you just feel like you should, and then it's ultimately not a good fit. Okay, so this is definitely not an exhaustive list of tools for accountability. They're really just examples. For fitness, Fitbit or other wearable devices can be great accountability tools. For nutrition, things like Noom. There's also like MyFitnessPal. Noom has more of a group approach where you can have a coach and an online accountability group. And then for mindfulness, I really like Insight Timer. There's also 10% Happier and Headspace. I've used all of those. I like how the Insight Timer also allows you to like track your progress and your streaks and how many minutes and hours and days you've meditated. You can also know that you're meditating with other people and send them messages. It'll say like 5,000 people just meditated with you, and you can send them a message if you like. So I think there's great ways to create accountability there. Someone says, I love MyFitnessPal. You can also add friends and they can see your entries. Good for accountability and encouragement. Yeah, I know that some nutritionists and personal trainers will also use MyFitnessPal so that they can access your entries. So yeah, that provides some great accountability for sure. And there's a space in the handout too if you want to go back and make a note if you respond to inner or outer expectations, and make a note about your tendencies so you don't forget that. And then you can write down any of your favorite accountability tools that maybe you want to look into later. And then also, not an exhaustive list of productivity tools. Some of the things that I do on a regular basis are calendar time blocking, which you can easily do in your Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar. Hocus, it should be like Hocus Pocus. It should be focus to do, focus with an F. And focus to do is a Pomodoro method. The traditional method would be 25 minutes of focus and 5 minutes of break. And I prefer to do the 50 minutes and 10 to have nice even hours. And then toggle track is great. You can track different tasks and projects. I especially like this because whether I'm starting a Pomodoro or starting toggle tracking, when I click start, then I feel like I'm on the clock. So I feel like a sense of urgency. I have 50 minutes to get this amount of work done. So all of these can be helpful, right? Someone added in the chat, thank you, focus to do. And then Pocket, I see as a productivity tool in that it helps to limit distraction. So that is simply an app or extension on Chrome where you can see an article that you want to save it to your Pocket app, and then you can have the Pocket app on your phone read the article to you. So I've seen some really long articles like on Medium that might take 30 minutes to read, and then I'll just have Pocket read it to me while I take a walk or wash dishes. So that can be really helpful. And then there's a lot more to this than, there's a ton of different focus hacks, but these are just some of the few that I've been sharing lately in the online modules for productivity with Presence. So simple things like Microsoft Focus Assist. If you haven't already used that, I think a lot of our work computers are Microsoft. And so that just allows you to avoid distracting notifications when you want to stay focused. Apple products do the same with Do Not Disturb on your computer or phone or tablet. They can be turned on and off as needed, or they can be scheduled. You can use downtime for your iPhone, which is kind of a nap for your screen time. You can set that for certain times a day. I have a coaching client who has her Facebook set for a certain number of hours a day. And I think she has it turned off from like 11 to 7, since she's working with a team in a different time zone. So she's not able to access Facebook until after 7. So that's helpful with downtime and app limits. And then there's also, if you want to check your Twitter, or if you want to check your Facebook, but you don't want to fall down that rabbit hole, then the way that works is that it removes the most addicting part of social media, which is the feed, and it replaces it with an inspirational quote. So you can access the functionality of your Facebook, you just don't get so sucked in. And it looks like I put pocket twice because I like it so much. So the ideas here are just really to limit distraction, again with the spell check, multitasking, that should be avoided. Taking regular breaks, we need that for our focus, our mood, our energy, important for our physical and mental health. And setting boundaries, like simply saying no, or setting an out of office responder to let people know that you're unavailable. All right, so once you've had a time, a couple of weeks to implement these next steps, then you want to reassess for lasting change. So towards the end of your handout, it shows you a place where you can put a date. It might be 4 weeks from today, or it might be 4 weeks from Monday, or whenever it is that you're going to implement your plan. And you should add that date to reassess and potentially check in with your accountability partner. And you want to look to make a goal go from smart to smarter. You add at the end the evaluate and readjust. I think a lot of us make the mistake of creating some great goals and then not following through and finding out how we're doing. So when you reevaluate and adjust, you can check back on a weekly or monthly basis, see if you're meeting your goals, decide if your goals are still achievable, can adjust as needed. You might also decide if the goals are still important. Like, there's been a lot of changes in the last year, and our goals and priorities can shift and change, and that's totally appropriate. So you might make adjustments in the timing or the frequency, or replace it with a different goal. I used to go swimming at the gym 3 days a week, and I don't have access to the gym anymore. And so I replaced that with yoga at home 3 days a week, just a different type of exercise. But it's still something that helps to keep me staying limber and flexible and good for my physical and mental health. So we've covered a lot in the last 30-40 minutes. We looked at clarifying your desires, SMART goals, leveraging your tendency, identifying accountability using productivity tools, and reassessing and recommitting for lasting change. And I know that I could have gone more in depth into any one of these topics, but the idea was just to kind of give you a taste and kind of a starting point. So I hope that there's questions. I'm also going to make sure on the handout, you should have my email, but if you want to know like specific articles or books or resources, email is the best way to get a hold of me. You can continue to ask questions in the chat. Okay, what do we rebels do for partnership and accountability? If anybody is willing to be a partner for this rebel, please say me and put that in the chat. I'm going to say that my partner is a rebel, and he oftentimes doesn't look for, look at that. Okay. All right, so we got a couple of different options, and it's probably good for all of you to connect anyways and keep in touch. I'm going to go out of the sharing so I can see everybody's faces better. And then also there's information on some of the upcoming events that are happening. And I also shared that on the online productivity with presence modules this week. There's the Get Clear on Your Time, and that's going to be talking about the importance of rest and breaks, and there'll be an intention setting meditation in there. And then I have some upcoming events in December and January. Will you get these slides? You will not get a copy of the slides, but because we have this on YouTube, I will definitely send you the replay, and that should be helpful. And then you also know how to get in touch with me, so we can talk about any other details. So we have a good 10 minutes, and I was really hoping that we could use this time to look at if there were specific goals that maybe you've tried to implement in the past, and you're looking for some ideas of how to be more successful there. Or everybody's just knocking it out of the park.
I can go. I think for me, I've tried to just do a wide number of things, and maybe this goes to an accountability partner. I just don't stick with any of them, even if I do have accountability partners. So I don't know if you have any tips there on, outside of an accountability partner, how to stick and be consistent with these goals.
And were you an obliger or a questioner?
Questioner.
Questioner, okay. Have you really looked deeply at understanding the why behind your motivation? Because sometimes really understanding that can be helpful, because you will comply with yourself when you're really in agreement with what you're doing. But if you have any hesitation, like if you don't feel like you're getting results, or you don't feel like the change that you're going for matters, then you're going to resist it. Does that sound right for you?
It does, but I think sometimes it's also remembering to prioritize these things and not letting work, it's really just work, get of some of these personal things.
Sure. So, and it looks like someone has a similar question, and I want to address that as well, but it says, like Francesca, I've recently been looking at why I start goals and make good progress, but don't stay with them. I'm thinking using my tendency and looking at what might motivate me in the long run will be helpful. Yeah. Can you give me any idea, Frankie, of something a little more concrete that maybe we could create time in your schedule for?
Yeah, like I've had a goal that I want to do yoga at least 3 to 4 times a week. But with my role right now, I've been working sometimes like until 8, 9, 10 o'clock. And then after that, I don't feel like working out or doing anything. I just want to go to bed or watch TV.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. Our body needs sleep as a necessity. It doesn't need yoga as a necessity. Like, it's easier for us to just, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just meeting our basic needs before we can meet some of those higher needs. Like, of course, yoga is gonna, again, help you physically and mentally. But what your body probably needs is to sleep and recharge your batteries. The question is if you could, perhaps set more boundaries with work so that you could carve out some days, like someone else had shared, Natalie, about 6:30 p.m. clocking out. And I know that there's going to be some seasons at work where that's just not possible. And maybe that time is now for you. And maybe you decide that yoga is still a priority, but not set the bar so high. Because when we set the bar high and we fall short, then it's very discouraging and we kind of want to throw in the towel. So if you say, I think I want to do yoga Sunday night in preparation for my work week, I'm going to start there. Or maybe Sunday night and Wednesday, but Wednesdays can get out of hand. So on my lunch break, I'll do it just before I eat. Or I'll, look at your schedule and see where your meetings are and see if you can block time off. And I know not everybody is respecting everybody's schedules, but wherever you can do that can be helpful. So if you were to dial it back, would that be more achievable if you could just do something consistent, like once or twice a week? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I think I could try once a week.
I'm going to have to check back next month and see how you're doing. All right, and then thank you for sharing that. So another question here. Okay, so one thing that works for me as an obliger, if I don't have accountability partners, simply writing down my goals and posting them somewhere where I can see them every day, like my bathroom or office, will help remind myself when I'm supposed to be working toward. Yeah, so there's lots of ways that we can create our own ways to have accountability. And one thing that she learned after reading Gretchen Rubin's Better Than Before about habits is to start small, maybe start with committing to do it once a week. Right, exactly. Um, and then we have another one, maybe trying the yoga at work, maybe. As in doing yoga will make you more productive and present in your work. Right. So you are really committed to work, and it's really important that you have the time and the energy and the focus to do work. And if you can think of, like, I know Paul works a lot with burnout, and we're all both in agreement. Like when we take breaks throughout our day, we can come back more refreshed and give more of ourselves. Um, and so, finding a way to do a quick yoga break. So that could be another way that we set the bar lower. Like yoga doesn't have to be 30 or 60 minutes. The yoga practice that I do is 15 to 25 minutes. And sometimes it'll be standing yoga where I'm not doing like postures on the floor. Sometimes it'll be bedtime yoga that I can actually do in my bed. So, and it's maybe I'm just checking a box, but I feel good because I feel like I'm doing something that's good for my health. Yeah, so exercising, trying yoga as a mindfulness exercise. Atomic Habits is a great book around the idea of starting with small habits. Yeah, that's an excellent resource as well. And I thought I saw Rahul.
Yeah, I was just quickly adding, I was just saying that for me, what happens is um, like intention setting. So basically every day when I start my day, I kind of do a small mindfulness activity. And like I, just talk to myself saying that these are the things that I want to balance my day in. And I think that then suddenly subconsciously set my mind to like, reach the goals that I have set for myself basically. So I think talking to myself every day about it just helps. Is the point.
Yes, thank you. I love the practice of intention setting. I think it really helps to bring clarity to our days and to our priorities. And so I talk about getting clear on your time. And step number one, the C in clear, is having that clarity, and intention setting can be a good way to go about that. Also deciding like your top priorities. I need to complete these tasks. That helps with clarity. Or these are the parts of myself that I want to bring today, presence and connection. And these are the types of meetings and tasks that I have. And knowing, being very clear as to what you want to bring can be helpful. So the author of Atomic Habits, James Clear, has a weekly email. You can sign up for it. Yep, I've seen his email. And big difference between doing something you think you should do versus something you want to do. This is a huge difference for rebels in particular, because as a rebel, you want to do what you want to do and not what anybody else necessarily wants you to do. So if I told Paul, I really think you should do yoga 3 days a week, he'd be like, I don't have to. No, exactly. Like you're already shaking your head and like physically digging in your heels. So it's very important for rebels to take ownership about what they're doing and doing it on their own terms. Another message, I also think that where my energy levels lie, and do workouts around that. Yeah, I know I won't do it at night because I have no energy. So even if I make myself get up a little earlier than I usually would, or put a 20-minute block on my calendar to go for a walk, to exercise and re-energize, yeah, that helps a lot too. So this is just a part of knowing yourself. Some of us benefit from doing energetic exercise in the morning if we have time, but in the evening is not a best fit for high energy activities that can be overstimulating and then also make it more difficult to sleep. And blocking time on the calendar for rest and self-care. Great. And a +1. Awesome. So we just have a few minutes until the top of the hour. Everybody knows how to get in touch with me. I think we're all connected on LinkedIn or Facebook. I offer a free strategies session, like 40 minutes, just to connect and look at some of these priorities that you're working on. So if you need some accountability a month from now, I'd be happy to provide that, or even into the new year. You can look on the handout for that. If for some reason you didn't get the handout, or if there's any other questions or information you need, you can definitely send me a message, an email at my Optima Results account, or send me a message on LinkedIn. The details for that stress session, I think there was an intention setting session that I said that would be part of the online modules, if that's what you're speaking of. Stress. I don't know that I have an upcoming stress session, but maybe send me a message on LinkedIn so I can get some clarification. Does that work? Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll wrap here since it's not enough time to get too deep into anything. I would love to hear everybody's feedback. I don't know if I'll have a chance to do a real Survey Monkey, but I will try to do that. Thanks for helping people to be more productive. Thanks. It's my pleasure. Luis and I have an upcoming event next month on emotional intelligence, mindfulness in the corporate world. And so definitely check that out. And I hope everybody learned something new. And I appreciate you all taking the time to be here with me this evening. Please stay in touch. Keep in touch with each other, especially if you want or need that accountability or just want to follow up. You guys have all taken in the same information, so it's kind of cool to reconnect and go through it again. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening. Take care and hope to see you all again soon. Bye-bye.